and I needed to know why I wanted to get better.
Just for me, just for him to show what is possible if you put your mind to it.
I promise I write. I'm just very not.
Because it gets to a point sometimes where like it hurts having not touched fiction.
Activate your energy.
Welcome to the Activated Authors Podcast, a show where we distill the core principles of what it takes to become a happy, healthy, and productive author, no matter what stage of the journey you're at. I'm your host, Daniel Willcocks. I'm an international best-selling author, as well as an author coach, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. But most importantly, I'm a lifelong student of all things productivity, psychology, and human behavior. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Without further ado, let's dive in.
What is up, activators, and welcome back to another episode of the Activated Authors Podcast with myself, Daniel Willcocks, and
Samantha Frost.
Hello, Samantha. What have you just put in your mouth?
I just ate an olive. I've been holding that for so long.
You planned this?
Yeah, I planned it.
Why?
Just because I wanted this reaction. I wanted to knock you off your game.
Well, it worked.
I know.
How are you, Sam? What's going on? What have you been up to?
I've just realised that
eating an olive and answering a question is a difficult task.
No, that eating anything today was really unwise.
Yes, Sam is not well. Still,
God, the things we do.
How are you feeling about that now?
I mean, it's so salty. You know, like when you haven't eaten things for a long time and you're real hungry, and then you have like a sweet, and you're like, oh my God, there's so much. Like I can taste every individual molecule of sugar that they put in this. It's real salty. Yeah, I'm okay. Was I with COVID last week?
Yes.
I'm still with COVID. It went for a little while, or at least it had the appearance of going, and then it was like, haha, just joking, here's a 40-degree fever. So I've been dealing with that yesterday, and I haven't actually taken my temperature today because I just feel real hot. So I'm assuming still not great. And just lots of vomiting. I vomited in a bush today, so I needed to go out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to be sick. And the most dignified place I can be sick right now is in a bush. Thankfully, not someone's garden bush. It was a common bush.
Just a standard societal bush. Let's breeze past that before that degenerates. What have you managed to get to much stuff? Have you been working on stuff, or has it been a restful
Yeah, no,
week?
I've like until yesterday, I've still been getting stuff done because, like I say, it really felt like it was tailing off. And then yesterday I decided that trying to use my brain in a big creative capacity, so for example editing poems, which is kind of what my life is at the minute, was really not a good idea because my poems generally are quite short. I think the longest one I've got, probably if I read it, is about 3.5 minutes, but most of them are around the 1.5 to 2 minute mark, so a page, 2 pages. So at the minute the edits are essentially the final edits from me, just to say, yeah, that's good, I'm happy with that, and then obviously I'll get them proofed because my spelling and grammar is still very much a work in progress. But I just decided yesterday, I was like, there's no point because I'm just going to have to do it again. Because even if it's perfect, I won't trust it. So I did not. That was a yawn, not a vomit. I did not do anything like that yesterday. I just I had Supernatural on and I did some painting.
And you've done a bunch of videos this week, which have been awesome.
Yeah. Well, so many.
They're not out yet, so if people, one of them is, but you've done a few different things.
Yeah. So I was saying to Dan before we started recording that my son Miles, I was doing a couple of extra ones, and he was just like, "Oh my God, when will this end?" And I was just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You've been editing these adverts for so long." I'm like, "Well, they've all been different ones." He's like, "But they're all the same." I was like, "To you, maybe, but." Yeah, I'm
It's
fine.
one of
That
the-
I've done that now.
It's one of the pains of like video editing is constantly having to like revisit the same thing just to check the thing, to add the thing, to do the thing, and it's
Yeah.
and it all comes together, and you're like, I'm done, and you watch it, and you're like, no, I've got like 12 different things I need to do.
You're never done.
No.
I just realized that the night before I got really ill was the night. So yesterday was the first day of me being really like, I've got really high fever. I don't feel good. Tuesday evening, I sent Dan over like the final 3 videos. I checked them. I double checked them. I sent them over, and usually what happens is Dan will look through them and say, okay, like I really like them, if we could just possibly tweak this, or like at, you know, at 1:57 the music is just a little bit louder than they're normally really like specific minute tweaks, which is one of the things I actually, although I tease him about it, it's one of the things I really enjoy working with you, is that like your attention to detail is like on point.
Thank you.
However, Tuesday evening I get a message back saying, love them, 2 tweaks. 1, you've put the wrong name, and I won't say names or anything yet because obviously they're not out, but 1, you've put the wrong name in the beginning of this, and 2, you've spelt this other person's name wrong. Now these are people that like I see minimum 4 times a week, that I adore and I love, and there was just clearly, I thought I was tired, but clearly the delusion was starting to kick in, because that I laughed for about 5 minutes. I was just
minor tweaks, just the entire context of the whole video.
Yeah, if you could just all the detail work, brilliant, but if we could just deal with these small things,
Let's give the people the right names.
and then spell it correctly. That would be great.
Yeah.
How have you been though?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. It's been a good week. It's been a good few weeks really in terms of the work that I've been doing and what I've been getting out there. Like I've managed to, between things, start getting through some of the things that have backed up for the last like 6-12 months, like stuff that's been on my list for a while. So I can start shrinking down and focusing on a few other things. But I have spent most of this week writing content for the possible course. I say possible, which is very, very exciting. Like there's a lot to it. There's a lot kind of like going on behind the scenes. At the minute, again, I can't really say all that much on, but I've written a lot of content for that. And like for me, it's been nice because with this content, I'm visiting an area of like the author life, I guess, that is something that I'm confident that I could do myself. But we've had conversations where it's like I've internalized a lot of stuff. So when people ask certain questions about how have I learned like descriptions or dialogue or this, like a lot of how I learned was by reading a lot, and then emulating has been pretty much my main thing. And over the years through different English courses, like even on drama, you study story structure, you go through stuff like that. So like I can watch TV shows and kind of know like where the main beats are and things. And it's gotten to a point where I don't really specifically think about it all that much. It's just kind of like as I'm writing a story, I'll feel those pulses, and you don't always get it right in the first draft, but like generally I know like where to lift the tension, where to let it drop, that kind of thing.
69 novels will do that for you.
Yeah. And so like I'm now at the point where, because I'm looking at teaching more stuff, I'm starting to have to firm up a little bit of what those frameworks are, so I can kind of like hand that knowledge on, which has been a really nice kind of refresher course for me. It has meant a lot more research than I was anticipating, but at the same time, like it's good. And again, I can't say too much, but like things happen behind the scenes. And with any luck, in probably a few months, I'll be able to talk a bit more about what's going on. So that's been going on. And then started the official wide launch of the 50k writing camp. So that's now out on people's feeds for people to see and to start like diving deep into what's going on with the writing camp. We had a few more people join this week, and getting excited doing all the prep work for that and making that happen. So I mean it's something that November's are very, very intense in terms of like my time and how much I have to be on the ball with like all the writers and stuff during these camps. But at the same time, like it really is the core of what we do with Activated Authors. It's kind of very much a testament to this camp that everything else sprang off of it. Therefore, so
it's our birthplace.
It's our birthplace. It's our origin story. It's it's going to be exciting diving into that. And every year we'll get like old faces back who, duck out for the year and then come back during Nano, and we've got like new faces coming in. So yeah, it's exciting to look at all of that coming ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
hope that we're prepped enough.
yeah. I mean, I'm really excited to like be with everyone, but
this will be the first year you're not taking part.
I know.
I mean, that's where it stands at the minute. We'll see what happens, but
no,
yeah,
no.
I know it's hard for you.
Yeah, because I really do want to.
For people who don't know, Sam finished Nano in 13 days last year. So
no,
I thought it was 13.
Year. That was the first year.
What was it last year?
It was 11.
Well, there you bloody go. Sorry. So yeah, testament to the writing camp process. So yeah, all that's coming up. What's one key takeaway that you're taking away from this week, apart from good places to vomit in a pinch?
Sorry for people that are listening on the podcast. You've made the right choice, because I've just seen myself in the monitor, and quite frankly, it's terrifying.
I look fine.
I do not look fine. I do not. I look like I've got a mask of white on my face and my eyes are sunken. Anywho, my key takeaway for this week is that I really need to get comfortable with not being in control of things. Obviously, I got ill, and so that affects everything. And I'm a lot better at being kind to myself with things like that. Like I took Wednesday off, and I'm doing very light things today. But it still doesn't change like that feeling of I'm behind, I'm not. I really wanted to like get all the poems in my folder edited, and I got like half of them done, which is like, don't get me wrong, that's still awesome. But I know that I would have been able to do a lot more had I been able to concentrate on anything other than my eyeballs sweating. That's so I think it's just this idea of like that there's nothing wrong with making plans and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's to be encouraged, because as much as you can't plan for illness and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't plan as if it's not going to happen. But yeah, it's just that thing of I find it very difficult to process in my brain that's gone, that time's gone. So I think my key takeaway is that the next kind of period of growth for me is going to have to just be getting comfortable with not being in control.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was speaking to an author yesterday about a little bit about what you were talking about, because we were talking about possible goals for a certain period, and how if you set an ambitious goal for, let's use words, just an example, like you want to write 10,000 words this week, and you write 9,980, you failed.
Yeah.
You haven't.
No.
But you failed.
Yeah.
And twisting between those mindsets, like you said, like you've accomplished like 50% of your poems despite the fact that you've been ill, but sometimes that can also feel like a failure, even though it definitely isn't. It's just finding that right perspective for it,
which is difficult when your eyeballs are sweating.
Fun.
I just had Lord of the Rings flashbacks.
Flashbacks. Interesting.
No spoilies.
But so my key takeaway is this week has reminded me that fiction feeds, particularly me. I mean, other people as well. Depends if your book sells or not, and you put food on the table if you're writing. But like creatively, for me, fiction feeds. Like, I haven't been able to get to any of my fiction for a few whiles because of stuff that I've been working on, like non-fiction wise, and just like a lot of transitionary stuff from leaving the ghostwriting behind. And I found a few days to go back to a piece that I'm kind of maybe about 50%, 75% between that region done with. and had to reread it obviously to refamiliarize myself with it. And I'm in a bit of an accountability thing with a few horror writery friends to commit just like 20 minutes a day minimum to a project that is personal.
I love that.
Yeah, and so that it's just there's something really restorative about visiting it and the options and writing and playing. And like I'm at the point where I've read it now, so I'm going to go into some more drafting and stuff and aim to get this first draft finished, because it's not a huge piece, but it's one that I've spoken about on before and other stuff, but it's very dense, it's very purple, it's definitely not really a commercial piece, but it's one that I'm just happy to write because it exercises a lot of demons. And so yeah, like just touching on that, because it gets to a point sometimes where like it hurts having not touched fiction. Like you get to a point where it's like it's all I can think about and all I want to do, and everything else, no matter what I'm doing. If you can hear weird noises, my dog's having a dream.
Oh my god, it's not a dream noise.
Little like, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Just little like hiccups.
So cute.
I really worried when she first started doing that. I was like, oh my god, she's dying. And I was like, no, it's normal. But yeah, so that's my takeaway is like, you know, it does get, especially as a writer, like there's always a real want to just work on stuff that is for you. And so yeah, I've got that, and it won't take long, I don't think, to finish working on this piece. It's just, you know, actually chipping away and making it happen. So that's mine. Our win from the community this week, from our Activated Authors community, goes to Carla, who finally got her husband to put up her nonfiction website and get that running so she can start building that for her nonfiction-y stuff. And also has her bio sorted and speaker slides done for a conference that she's speaking at in just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is exciting and also daunting, but more exciting. So yeah, I mean, we say this all the time in sprints and stuff, but best of luck, Carla, you got this.
Yeah.
And now into this week's question. So Sam,
yes,
would you like to?
I would like to. I would like to ask you the question, and the question is, Daniel Stephen Willcocks.
Thanks.
What is your why?
It goes between my X and my Z.
I wondered where that was going for a second.
Oh God.
I was like,
no.
Oh my God.
Where is this going? No, so for context, since we are now in this stage of asking lots of different questions, looking into the writing life and stuff, obviously the first question made sense to be about story. This one is probably one of the biggest ones that I come back to again and again with, like, every book I write, every person I coach, every single time, like, you know, I struggle and things. So before I get into answering what my particular why is, I think it's probably worth maybe touching on why a why is important. Why a why?
Why?
So I'm going to spin the question back and go, Sam, why a why is important?
Why? Well,
tell me why.
Oh, I'm going to send you a video after we finish recording of a cold open of Brooklyn Nine-Nine with that song in it, because it's mwah. So whys are important because inspiration will get you going, but she is a fickle bitch and she will leave you as quick as a flea leaves its life. I promise I write. I'm just very not. So the point of a why is when you are in the thick of whatever it is you've chosen to do, whether it's writing a book, whether it's training to be an astronaut, whether it's training for the Olympics, or I don't know, cooking, like deciding you want to cook a home cooked meal every night for a month, whatever it is, the why is important, because there will be times, many times, where you literally think to yourself, I don't want to do this. Why am I doing this? That's when you go, why? My why?
This is magic to witness. Keep going.
Thank you. That's when you want to, like, remember the reason why you wanted to do this in the first place. And I read something the other day that said, you're already in pain, you're already hurting, at least make it count for something. I quite liked that. So, like, depending on, you know, what it is that you want to achieve, a lot of the time things come from, as Dan has said several times, inspiration or desperation.
Mm.
So like a good 50% of the time you're doing something because you're fed up with how something is and you need something to change. Or, you know, you see something and it inspires you greatly and you're like, I want to change because of this reason. But your body and your mind are so ingrained with habits that you already have that they're going to resist big time, and they're going to try and like pull you back into old habits. And that's the time where you dig deep and remember why you wanted to start this in the first place. And if you don't have a why, it's very difficult to keep going. Like willpower is good, but like honest to God, it can only take you so far.
Yeah,
if you don't have a reason to keep going.
Yeah, I read somewhere, I can't remember where, that willpower is essentially currency that renews each day that you spend on things. So at the end of the day, when you've got no willpower left and you're sat just slobbing on the sofa, no judgment, I do it all the time.
Me too.
Like every decision you make each day costs, and so you know you have to make decisions. But yeah, like I agree with everything you said. I think you know, writing a book and becoming an author particularly is a very, very long game.
Oh yeah.
It's something that if you are after quick gratification, you're not going to get it, because you know, like it can take months, weeks, years, however you know you work as an author, before you get a book in your hands, before you get a sale. You know, it's likely that if you're self-publishing, that the first book's not going to knock it out of the park, because you know we work on the long tail of racking up a backlist and getting extra books in that people can fall in love with, and that's when sort of the money starts coming in. So like you're looking at a several year plan to become an author, and you know that's something that you need to have a damn good reason why you want to stick with this. Because if you don't have, it can get tiresome very quickly. And the reasons can be like, or the whys can be a bunch of different things. Like maybe your why is that you want to use your creative talents to make income. Maybe your why is that you're adamant you've got a story that the world needs to see. Like maybe your why is you just want to leave a legacy, or you want to create something that like your children can pass on to their children. Whatever it is, there has to be a big enough reason, because the world that we live in, particularly in the last, you know, 15, 20 years with the internet, social media, not to like a lot of conversations tend to come back to this, but it's such a big thing.
Oh my God, it's so true.
Yeah, like our attentions generally are shorted. It's very easy to pick up your phone and get a quick dopamine hit and be happy, because you know that's what we seek. Like to have a quick snack and to feel good, to watch a TV show that finishes in 20 minutes. All of these things make us feel good.
Yeah.
And sitting in a chair, staring at a screen and writing, like I love it, but it took a lot to like condition myself to get there. Because again, like you get to the point where you're like, oh, why am I bothering? Like it's like I'll just do this because it's easier. So you have to have whatever that thing is that drives you forward, that hook that just keeps you moving towards whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
And it has to be strong. Like I know a lot of authors who have come into the space who did it on a whim, like got halfway through, realized it was hard, and they disappeared, and I've never seen from them again. Like the people that have stuck around are the people that are like passionately creative, and they have a real strong reason as to why they're here.
Yeah.
So yeah, understanding your why is huge. I know that Simon Sinek in his book Start With Why was one of the reasons that I first started sort of to turn on to how important this stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks more about business, but he talks about like a lot of the time we concentrate on the what, but we never concentrate on the why. And there's like a golden circle of like, what do you do on the outside? How do you do it in the middle? And then why do you do it on right in the very middle?
Yeah.
And a lot of people look from the outside in, when really anything you do, you have to start with why, then look at the how, and then look at the what it is.
And oh, sorry, please continue.
You carry on.
I was just going to say, and when it comes to your why, it is a very personal thing. And like we're going to share ours in a minute, and as to why it is our why and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean you should feel the pressure to explain it to other people.
No.
But it has to resonate to your marrow, otherwise it will not work. And a lot of the time people will choose a why that they think is their why. And so what I would say is like, find out what you think your why is, and then see if you can dig a bit deeper. And if you can't, then cool, that's your why. But I heard an example once of someone basically an analogy where it's like, okay, so there's these two really tall buildings, and in between them is like a very sturdy footpath, like bridge kind of thing. You know, it's got high walls, you can't fall off, it's very safe, everything's fine. Would you cross it for $1 million? And everyone was like, yeah, of course I would. What are you talking about? And then the person was like, okay, cool. So same buildings, and now it is a plank of wood that is across these two buildings, and it's windy and it's rainy. Would you still cross that plank for £1 million? And people were like, no. And then they said, would you cross it to save someone that you love on the other side? And everyone was like, yeah, of course I would. That's the difference between a surface level and an actual.
Yeah, and you can have multiple whys as well, and over time they can change. But yeah, like the thing I come back to is like, at the end of the day, there are 1,000 other things, millions of other things you could be getting involved in, like whether it's painting, whether it's, you know, ice skating, like, I don't know, just there's lots of things you can do and spend your time on.
Yeah. What
is it particularly that's putting you to this mission? Because I know that, and this isn't technically my why, but this is contributes to it. It's like, I love words. Like, I've looked at, you know, I'm surrounded by people that write scripts, that are making films, that are doing like comics and graphic novels and stuff, but I really like the novel. Like, I just, that form really resonates with me, because I have so much I want to accomplish with words and what I can do in book form. So that's kind of just my chosen medium. But yeah, let's dive into the why. So my, as I mentioned, whys can change, and my why has changed over the years. The big why, the big impetus for me beginning the writing journey. I mean, I've always been something of a reader. I've always liked the written word in many forms. Like, it's just something that I've been drawn to. I've said a lot of times on different podcasts and stuff, like, I never dreamed of being a writer, like, because I just didn't think it was possible. Like, so yeah, you know, things worked out quite well in the end. But when the big kick up the arse for me to start writing was when Bailey was born, when my son was born. And there was that moment of, I want to prove to him that you can achieve a dream if you try hard enough.
Yeah.
And I'd never finished a book. I'd written like short stories and stuff. I'd had a couple of like failed attempts at writing a novel. And when I say like failed attempts, like, there wasn't a lot of heart in it. Like, I kind of sat down, wrote a page, and then went, fuck this, and went off and did something else. But it got to a point where I saw, like, I was beginning to work in publishing, and I saw other people writing books, and I was like, I could do this. Like, I'd love to have just something on my shelf, just for me, just for him, to show what is possible if you put your mind to it. And that kind of kicked it off. That was enough. Like, I would constantly return to the page when he was asleep, when I was like between jobs and away from the house and stuff, just because I was like, I want to make this happen. Like, I need to make this happen. Like, as you say, there's that deep rooted, like, I have to do this. And also for me, I really just wanted to prove to myself that I could. So everything at that point was very selfish in a positive way. Like, I want to work on dispelling selfish and negative thing. But like, it was selfish. It was for me to prove to my son that I could do this, and that it is possible, should he wish to pursue other things as he grew up. And so that was a big thing. And then, you know, over time, like, my books took off, started doing well. Like, I got involved in communities, I started like coaching, all that kind of stuff. And I'm now in a position where I kind of have two whys that mingle together. And like, one of them is more aimed at the author sides of the people that I help, and the other side is aimed at the horror fiction side of what I write. And with the authors, it is to inspire, it is to educate, it is like a deep-seated. So for me, I went through a phase a couple of years ago when things were very, very hard in my personal life, and trying to write on top of that was very, very difficult. But like, writing and keeping that creative flame burning pulled me through.
Yeah. And
along the way of doing this writing journey, I've seen people come to the page who, you know, maybe they were later on in life and they'd abandoned all hope that they could be creative, that they could do these things. And there's something really, really magical about just seeing that flame light again, and people seeing that it's possible, because life goes a big way to crush a lot of our hopes and dreams, and to put us into these boxes and these routines and everything else.
Yes.
And having been through that and springing out the other side, like, I just massively believe that everyone should have something that is theirs, that they keep a hold of, that is uniquely theirs, whether that's art, whether that's, you know, I'm good against different forms of art now, like poetry, music, you know, whatever, whether it's woodwork, I don't know, whatever it is, just something that you enjoy that is purely yours that no one can touch, that sacred place that you can go to. And this is getting very woo is the wrong word, but like I genuinely believe that should be in everyone. And as I say, I've seen people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s come to the page and like re-find that fire.
Yeah.
Just love the experience and just seeing like the joy. And that's really one of the things that pulls me back to coaching authors, because so much of what I do because there's two sides of it. There's the writing side and there's the actual client side facing, but like I guess it transcends both. Finish a sentence, Dan. most of what I do, bar obviously the fact of helping people write the book and overcoming blocks, a big part is giving people permission.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us live in lives in which other people don't understand this side of who we are, and therefore, crude way of putting it, but don't accept it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times people will be like, I want to do this. And I'll be like, well, do it then. Because there really is no reason why you can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just all of that to say that seeing that flame, like that is one thing that I absolutely like just live for and really thrive on, like seeing the impact that I'm having on other authors and the quality of life and the things that I enjoy, and just seeing what's coming out of it. It's just gorgeous. And then the horror side of stuff is to entertain, it's to play, it's to educate myself. Like in a way, it's really funny being like, I write horror because I want to entertain people, because it is like I'm not in it to scare people or gross people out. It's just like it's a form of story that people like and that I resonate with and that I seem to do quite well. So like yeah, it's entertainment mainly. And again, like every now and then you'll get these people that reach out that are like, oh, I'm in hospital, I've got deep-seated illnesses, and reading your pages has removed me from my situation for at least like a few hours. And like having that impact on people and helping people and putting that kind of stuff out, like it's awesome. So I will say that because I did write down a while back like a succinct version of what my actual why is. Well, what I put under my mission, but I've put to positively impact the world with imagination, story, and light. And that is my why. That's what keeps me coming back to the page. That's what pulls me through. And I will say as well that it is obviously my why has changed a lot over the years, because it was very different in the beginning, and it's very easy sitting from where I'm at the minute to say that can be my why, and seeing the impact of all these people. I understand that like other people want to do this, but they might not necessarily have yet found people who have benefited from them putting that stuff out into the world. Like I recognize that having literally like helped people and had that feedback is a good reason why I believe more in my why.
Yes.
If you're a person who has great intentions and you want to put some stuff out in the world to help people and to be kind and to make people's lives a little bit easier, fucking do it.
Yeah.
And the same with fiction. Yeah. So there we go. That's my little soapbox moment. Over to Samantha motherfucking Frost.
Oh, thank you very much.
We should probably mention your new name as well.
Yes, let's do that now.
You want to do that now? Okay.
Yeah.
We put a poll on the Activated Authors group to work out what better name we can use for Sam other than Helper. And I've got to work out where I put. Oh, there we go. So, I mean, I'm not writing this down anywhere. This. I feel like this is quite excessive. But the democracy has decided.
It's going on the website.
All right. When you work out how to log in, you can add it. The community have decided Samantha Frost is the Red Queen, First Lady Frost, Chief Artist and Custodian of the Creative Lake.
Yeah.
Not quite what I was going for, but hey, who am I to argue?
Also, full disclosure, I have no idea how to log into your website.
Yeah.
I was doing that teenage thing, like, I already know how to do it.
I'll figure it out. It's fine.
How hard can it be? It's just typing in letters.
So it is. So it is.
Mm-hmm. So I think similar to you, my why has well, it's interesting. I don't know whether it's changed actually all that much, or whether it's a case of I've changed and understood that actually what I thought was my why was never my why. It was beneath that. So I remember when I was in Welham Road. So I'd have been 9, 10 when I first got to my mum's when I moved in with my mum. And I remember sitting cross-legged on the carpet next to the slidey wardrobe with my shiny green cassette player, listening to Hit Me Baby One More Time. And I was you used to be able to, like, you'd press the record. That's good God, record, and I would try and like sing along with her. And I used to think, like, you know, she's 16. When I'm 16, I'm going to be famous. I want to be famous. That was, you know, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be famous. The end. And so for me at that time, it was, I wanted to be universally loved, because I had been universally rejected up until that point, basically, in my life, by, you know, most importantly, the people that are supposed to love you unconditionally. And obviously, as I got older, I started noticing that there was an embarrassment in me to tell people that I wanted to be famous, because I was just like, it feels like a weird thing to say. Like, it's not normal to want to be famous. And then as I got older, I realized that, like, what is famous? And a famous what? Like, a famous what, Sam? So at the time, I liked singing. I still love singing, but it was this slow realization as I grew, and I started kind of with my mental health recovery, like properly, that I realized that fame was never what I wanted. What I wanted was acceptance. But but I didn't want acceptance from, like, well, not necessarily from normal people, but like, I wanted acceptance in the sense of, I wanted people to say to me, like, you are exceptional. You are, like, above this and above that. Like, it, because of my pathology, because of where I come from, to me, being considered like mediocre or normal is a death stroke. And yet at the same time, I don't believe there's anything wrong with being normal and all the rest of it. Like, God knows there's been so many nights that I've cried myself to sleep wishing I was. But like, throughout my life, it's always been that, is that I crave love and I crave, like, validation. And so, like, that's where my, like, first original kind of why that still sticks with me to this day. And it's not necessarily my proudest moment, because I would very much enjoy to be able to give myself validation, and that is something that I work on a lot. But like, if we're going to be honest here, like, that's where my first why came from, is that I needed to be seen as exceptional, because I thought that nothing less than that was good enough. Nothing less than that would make me seen, because it hadn't. So why would it now? Like, I'd had proof my entire life that I wasn't good enough as I was. So I needed to be exceptional to prove my worth, because I wanted acceptance and I wanted love. And so, like, it would be just a plain lie of me to say that still doesn't play into my why. But of course, then I had a kid. And I tell this story a lot, but I still remember the very first time I saw his face after an 81-hour labor. He was shown to me, and I smiled, and my brain went, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. It was the first time I ever had considered my own mortality. And very similar to you, I want to show him that, like, rules are there, but it doesn't mean you have to abide by them, because most rules, I'm talking about, like, societal convention rules. I'm not talking about
like mugging a pensioner.
Yeah, like that's there for a good reason. Leave Betty alone, she's been through enough. But like, societal expectations, whether it's around relationships, whether it's around work, or how you present yourself, or what you do on your downtime, all that kind of stuff, that's all it is opinions, other people's opinions. And as my mum says, opinions are like arseholes, everybody's got one. So like, it's just important for him to see that you can do, I'm going to say almost anything, because obviously we all have like limited, like I'm tiny, I'm never going to be an RAF pilot, not at 35 as well, but like, there are obviously certain things, but like for the majority of things, like you can do anything you set your mind to if you are prepared to put in the work, because people love to leave that bit off. You're capable of anything. The end.
Yep.
And I really do believe, especially with children, but I mean it applies to like anyone that kind of looks at you in any capacity of like a role model, or like, they admire this about you. What they take as lessons is what you do, not what you say. There's another gem from my mum is words are cheap. Show me.
Yeah.
Because I could sit here and tell you about like how many novels I've written, but I haven't. It's bullshit. Anyone could say that. Anyone could say that, they've, I don't know, been to the, like, it's actions are what
count,
resonate with people, because like they're undeniable. So yeah, for me, it is just proving to him that there are different ways of doing things. And, we have lots of very interesting conversations around this topic all the time. Things like people are going to take the piss no matter what you do. So you might as well do what you love. Because what's more soul crushing than getting to the end of your life and realizing the whole time you've been doing what everyone expects of you, and you've still caught shit for it your whole life? Because you will. Like, there's always going to be people, like even before the internet, believe it or not, like there was still judgment from everybody. It's a natural human condition. Like, we're all judgy. Some of us more so than others. That was me being judgy. Did you get it?
Hey.
But like, especially now, with kind of comment culture, if you will, like everyone's got an opinion, and they want and they think it's so important. So they will scream it at you. Like, so yeah, it's just important, I think, for him to see that there is another way, and not just one. There's so many. Like, life should be like, it's kind of like a la carte. Like you can choose the bits that work for you. Try things. Like, don't shut yourself off from opportunities. Don't shut yourself off from working a 9 to 5, because some people thrive and love that kind of thing, and some people hate it. But like, you only know your actual opinion of something when you try it. So yeah, for me, it's just a case of needing validation and being accepted and loved, and proving to my son, I guess, that he doesn't need a validation or acceptance from other people.
all the wonders we could dig into there. But I do like your point about the whole reaching into your life thing. I think there's a Jim Carrey talk that he gives, like some
about his dad.
That I saw a while back, and I keep seeing it do the rounds, but like, he basically tells a story about how his dad could have been a great comedian, but he chose a safe job, went into accounting, and then 30 years later got fired from the safe job. And so his lesson learned was, you can fail at doing something that you don't love just as easy as you can fail at doing something that you do love. So you might as well go out and fail at the thing that you do love. I think it's powerful, like all along the way, especially as I chose creative arts and things.
Samesies.
There was always some kind of resistance of varying degrees. I will say that my parents were incredibly they were supportive in the sense of they allowed me to do what I want to, but not like with great enthusiasm. So like, for example, I could pick 2 subjects at school to do for 2 years, and I went for music and drama as opposed to something like business or like additional ICT or something like a bit more quote academic.
A real subject.
Yeah, but yeah, this was it. I had those conversations of like, why don't you take like a backup, just in case, like something a bit more like academic and a bit more with some more utility.
Yeah.
It's like, given what I do for a living now, I think these subjects came in very handy.
Yeah, you made the right choice. Well done there, Willcocks.
Thank you. But yeah, like all of this to say, like, there's a lot of reasons for why we do what we do. For people who are maybe a bit unclear on their why and would like to dig a bit deeper into what their why is, I would say Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, is a great resource. I will say it's quite aimed towards businesses, but you can extrapolate a lot of that into your own life. Pretty much every book that I write that's nonfiction starts with finding your why, because, for example, collaboration for authors, why are you choosing to collaborate? Because again, like, you could write by yourself, you could choose not to write, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's easier ways to write a book than with other people, than like bringing in like a wild card element.
Well, exactly. And then self-publishing blueprint, same reason. Like, why are you self-publishing? Because understanding your reason, and all it is, it's not even me like trying to like either put people off, whatever. It's like my whole ethos on life is,
Sandra.
if you can back up your choice with sound logic and reason, that's all you need. Like, I was talking to you earlier about this this book that I'm writing at the minute. It's very purple. It's not commercial. I don't think it's gonna be a big seller, but it is one of my favorite things that I've written. And a lot of the conventions, a lot of things I'm doing in there, I'm doing deliberately. Like, it's slightly outside the conventional story structure. Like, it's a bit beautiful, weird and etheric. It's poetic, but also prose. Like, it's very, I don't know how to describe it. It is quite literary in a way. I don't know what it will do. I don't know where it will go, but I'm happy with it. And everything that I've done in there is for a particular reason. So whatever comes after that happens. But yeah, I would say if you're not sure what your why is, just try and narrow it down. Think of the reason of why you want to write a book. Like, is it because you've seen someone who's making lots of money? Is it because your friend's doing it and you think that'll be cool? Is it because you've seen like the lifestyle of a full-time author? And then think of that reason and then break it down and then go, but why would you want that?
Yeah.
And then at another level, once you've got that answer, but why does that matter to you?
Yeah.
And really, like, ask yourself why a few times until you can sort of break it down into the core components. Like with yourself, Sam, like, because I crave love and validation, and this is a vehicle that may allow me to get that. I want to, show my child that you can go your own way, like whatever that reason. I mean, as Sam said earlier, like, if you print it out, write it down, whatever it takes, however you need to do it, put it somewhere visible to you, and just on the days when it's really heavy to get to the page and you're just thinking, I could just sleep in, it'd be easier, just look at that why, and then really ask yourself that question, like, why am I doing this? Is this still relevant? And if it is, and you pick the right why, well, I need to crack on because this is what I've got to do.
I don't have it there anymore because it's kind of like, I know now, but I used to have it when my bed was over here. I used to have it taped to my ceiling when I was really ill. And like, I was like right at the beginning of my recovery, and I needed to know why I wanted to get better, because like that's one of the big kicks in the arse when it comes to just any kind of mental health recovery. I would say probably with addiction as well, because if you like, it's horrendous, because like no one's gonna like give you a scalpel to, I don't know, like take out your own gallbladder or whatever, but like you're handed the scalpel when it's mental illness because it has to be you. It's just like, it sucks, but it's true. So I used to quite literally have it taped directly above my pillow, so when I would wake up in the morning and open my eyes, before any thoughts could get into my head, it was the first thing I would see.
I love that.
Yeah.
Boom. So there we go. What is why? How is why? Words are good. So the question this week is, what is your why? And we'll put some resources in the show notes. Sorry, Sam. And then
I'm used to it.
Just before we round up,
great.
a reminder that the 50k writing camp is coming and is open for new campers. So spaces are going. If you are looking at attempting NaNoWriMo this November, this is your ultimate way to make sure that you get those words in, reach your 50,000, high five your future self, eat a cheesecake, and go into the new year knowing that you finished a goddamn draft. So all of the information over activatedauthors.com/50k.
Yeah, and please remember that, like, I need love and validation. So you need to get into the camp so I can fulfill my why. Thank you.
Yeah, Sam may not be competing this year, but she's definitely going to be there and involved in those and things. So
yeah, I will be there all the time.
Beautiful.
Pretending.
And terrifying.
Yeah.
So without any more further ado, Man, always fun wrapping these up. A massive thank you to you, the listener, for tuning in. We appreciate you and the time you choose to spend with us each and every week. And as always, if you're looking to level up your writing career and activate your author career, then head on to activatedauthors.com to find out all about our community, our resources, and everything else that we've got going on. One more time from myself and Sam, we will see you next week.
Goodbye. He does this professionally full time.
I do. Bye-bye.
Bye.